So Alonsis Fowl trains a bunch of warriors in the ways of the light, creating paladins, and a group called the Order of the Silver Hand. The original members were Uther, Tyrillian, Saidan Dathrohan, Gavinrad, and Tyrion Fordring, and it's their purpose to bring the light against the orcs and their allies. Now Zulahed the Whacked gets a hold of the demon soul, mostly because it's convenient storytelling that he has it, and he decides to give it to Necro Skullcrusher, who seems like he'll put it to good use, and he does. He uses it to enslave Alexstrasza and all of the red dragons, you know, because it can do that apparently. He does not use it to enslave any of the other dragonflights, because that'd just be whacked. So Warchief Orgrim Doomhammer finds out that a great troll warrior named Zul'jin has been captured and imprisoned. So he goes and rescues him, and encourages the Amani trolls he leads to join the Horde. So the Alliance group in Capital City sends Anduin Lothar out to keep the peace. When they get word that Airy Peak was under attack, the Alliance goes down to stop it. Once there, they're told by Curdran Wildhammer that the actual attack is going on in Quel'Thalas. So a group consisting of Alleria, Khadgar, and Tyrillian hurries north to stop the Horde there. When they get to Quel'Thalas, it's already on fire, and red dragons are burning the place up. They're ambushed by some trolls, but Alleria kills them. Then she warns Anasterion that the time to commit and enter the war has come. Curdran Wildhammer comes to tell them that Lothar and the reinforcements are on their way.
Now Gul'dan finds some runes in Quel'Thalas that he uses to grant magic to several of the ogres, turning them into ogre magi, even making some of them smart. One even had an IQ. He's dead now. Anyway, Gul'dan, Cho'Gall, that was the ogre with the IQ, and the rest of the clan of ogres known as the Twilight's Hammer decide to all stay in Quel'Thalas to work on magic stuff, while Orgrim takes the rest of the Horde forces south. But really, they were just trying to be left alone so they could go off on their own without being noticed. Apparently, Orgrim leaves the Amani trolls in Quel'Thalas and has made a deal with Aiden Paranold of Alterac to allow the orcs to pass through to Capital City without trouble in exchange for not totally curb-stomping Alterac's face-off. I guess it was a good thing Alterac was on the way. Well, this works until they're cut off by Thoris Trollbane, King of Stromgarde, who stops the rest of the Horde from getting through and then says, "Hey, Aiden Paranold is a traitor. Let's go totally curb-stomp Alterac's face-off." So the rest of the Alliance rushes back to try and stop the orcs, who just walked right into the capital. Meanwhile, Gul'dan, Cho'Gall, and the rest of the Ogre Magi, along with the Twilight's Hammer clan and the Stone Reaver clan of orcs, all head to South Shore and grab boats to sail south to a bunch of islands housing what appears to be the tomb of Sargeras. Oh yeah, this is going to end well. So some orcs riding red dragons head over to Capital City and tell Orgrim about Gul'dan's betrayal. He then tells Rend and Maim Blackhand to take the Blacktooth Grin orcs to go kill Gul'dan and his friends. A move which ultimately costs Orgrim the battle, and he's forced to retreat south. So Gul'dan opens the tomb and looks for the promised candy, but all he finds are demons who tear him apart. Cho'Gall and the remaining forces fight back the demons and are nearly defeated, when finally the Blacktooth Grin orcs and the Dragon Maw Riders show up and kill everyone. So I guess Cho'Gall won't be showing up in the story anymore.
So the Alliance comes down to Ironforge and frees the dwarfs, who finally step into the Alliance for realsies and fight. This shift causes the Horde to be pushed back to Blackrock Mountain. There, Anduin Lothar faces off against Orgrim Doomhammer. After a heated battle, Anduin is killed. This sends his Padawan, Tyrillian, into a holy rage, which he uses to subdue Orgrim. And the other orcs just run away, trying to get to the Dark Portal. Obviously, the Alliance chases them. And some of the orcs actually manage to get through the Dark Portal before Khadgar blows it up. Orc problem solved. So the orcs who didn't make it through in time were captured and forced to build a giant statue of Anduin Lothar, then sent off to internment camps under the watch of Warden Aedelas Blackmore. So the Alliance builds a fortress called Netherguard Keep, overlooking the crater where the Dark Portal was. And it's built by Master Mason Edwin Van Cleef, who does such a good job that he's asked to rebuild the entire city of Stormwind. But Khadgar stays behind just in case. 2 years later, on Draenor, The orcs split back into their previous clans, but Ner'zhul is approached by Taron Gorefiend. He instructs Ner'zhul to get the skull of Gul'dan and reunite the Horde. Taron, on the other hand, decides to go gather the former members of the Shadow Council and try reopening the Dark Portal. After all, it worked so well the last time. So Grom Hellscream, chief of the Warsong clan, goes to Hyrkan Skullsplitter, chief of the Bone Chewer clan, and kills him. He had Gul'dan's skull, apparently. And Grom gives it to Ner'zhul. Ner'zhul uses the skull to reopen the Dark Portal, because skulls of slightly magical people are they themselves magical. Don't doubt it, that logic is rock solid.
So a bunch of orcs come pouring through the new Dark Portal, and Grom takes through a group, and Taron takes through a different group. Grom goes to Netherguard Keep to cause a distraction. My guess is he bought them all copies of Skyrim. Meanwhile, Taron goes after 3 objects of power: the Eye of Dalaran, the Scepter of Sargeras, and the Book of Medivh. So Rend and Maim have apparently never left Blackrock Mountain, and have set up a stronghold, which they call the New Horde, which is almost as popular as New Coke. So Taron wanted to borrow some red dragons to expedite the search, but the first rule of owning a dragon is you don't lend it out to people. But Deathwing arrives and makes a deal with Taron, offering him to let him use black dragons in exchange for the orcs helping him move some cargo across the border and into Draenor. So they head to get the Book of Medivh, and also wind up setting Aiden Paranold free. Then it's over to the Tomb of Sargeras to get the Scepter of Sargeras. Apparently everyone knows how to find the tomb now, though it doesn't help that it was added to a trackable location on Google Maps. And finally, they head to Dalaran to steal the Eye. So Taron goes back through the portal with all his things, and followed shortly by Deathwing, who also has a few things, which turn out to be dragon eggs. Grom decides not to head back just yet, but the Alliance decides to head through to stop whatever plan it is with all those objects. The team is made up of Tyrillian, Ilaria Windrunner, Khadgar, Danath Trollbane, Kurdran Wildhammer, and they built a fort called Honor Hold, which was the Alliance base on Draenor.
Now Khadgar gets a message from Archmage Antonidas in a dream that tells him that Ner'zhul is planning on using those objects in a ceremony to make portals, and that he should get the Skull of Gul'dan to stop him, because skulls totally do that kind of thing, obviously. But when the Alliance raids Hellfire Citadel, it appears that the objects have split up. So one group goes after the Skull of Gul'dan, while the other group goes after Ner'zhul and his objects. Firstly, Ner'zhul flees into Terakar. He's pursued by Danath and Kurdran. Ner'zhul kidnaps Kurdran for tea and biscuits over in Ashendon. An Arakoa named Grizik helps Danath to follow them. Grizik takes Danath into Ashendon, and they meet with Nemeron, a Draenei who, like the rest of the uncaptured Draenei, is in hiding from the orcs. Nemeron raises up the ghosts of the Draenei who died in the war with the orcs. The group finds Kurdran. Nemeron heals him, and they continue in the search for Ner'zhul. Now Ner'zhul tells Kilrog Deadeye to slow them down. Kilrog does slow them down. He slows them down exactly the amount of time it takes to kill Kilrog Deadeye. So Ner'zhul kept fleeing towards the Black Temple. Meanwhile, the other group heads into the Blade's Edge Mountains to recover the Skull of Gul'dan. That's when they're attacked by a bunch of black dragons. Suddenly, a giant Gron named Gruul shows up and kills a bunch of the black dragons, and the trio decides to go ahead and crush the black dragon eggs. So Deathwing shows up with the Skull of Gul'dan, but Khadgar hits him with a spell that makes him run away, and he drops the skull. You hear that, mages? Deathwing was taken down with one spell. Just one.
So the Alliance forces get together at the Black Temple where Ner'zhul took all those objects and is working on a spell. They all charge in to stop him. Khadgar gets there just in time to see him complete the ritual, which opens portals all over Draenor, ripping the place apart and destroying the whole world. Khadgar casts a spell to grab the Eye of Dalaran just before Ner'zhul jumps through one of his portals with the Scepter of Sargeras, leaving the Book of Medivh for no one to care about. So it turns out that portal Ner'zhul jumped through led straight to Kil'jaeden. You know, The guy who fooled him into slaughtering and imprisoning the Draenei. The guy he betrayed and usurped his army from. Yeah, that guy. So Kil'jaeden breaks his body and encases his soul in some armor, puts the armor in a block of ice, and sends the block of ice hurtling through various portals in space, and finally the soul in the armor and ice lands in Icecrown up in Northrend. He's sent with a mission, to spread plague throughout Azeroth. And Tichondrius and Nethrezim is sent to make sure that Ner'zhul doesn't really get out of line. After experimenting with the plague a bit, Ner'zhul realizes that those killed by it are raised up as mindless undead, which he can control by reaching out his mind. So the first thing he makes them do is build an awesome evil lair, because if you're going to have a crazy superpowers and enslave the whole world as zombies, you really need an awesome evil fortress to do it from. He also learns of a place in Northrend called Azul Nerub, which is this great subterranean kingdom made up of intelligent insect people called Nerubians, who are completely immune to the plague. That is, unless he kills them first, then he can raise them up as an undead bug people.
So the Alliance, now having the skull and the eye of the Laren, heads back to the Hellfire Peninsula to the Dark Portal. Deathwing quickly heads through, sensing that the plot on Azeroth is going to need him. So Khadgar steps up to the portal, tosses the eye of Dalaran through, I'm sure it'll find its way where it's supposed to go, and blows up the Dark Portal again. The shattered world of Draenor is renamed Outland, and the Twisting Nether, which is kind of like a terrible chaotic dimension but also the net that holds the universe together, can now be seen in the sky.